Show me a sign. Anne Claire Lazat. I don't know why I still have to read it every time. Chapter 35. When I rise, I put on the dress that Mama made for my Christmas present. It's still folded and tied with a velvet bow. It has a floral pattern with pink and green roses embroidered on a cream-colored wool gown. A gold coin is sewn into the hem for good luck. There are 2 roses on my new petticoat, which no one will see but me. They are like a secret between Mama and me. I put on new woven stockings and an old pair of brown shoes. Mama is in the kitchen. Her face lights like the sun when she sees me. Oh, that's such a good feeling. She rushes about as if I am a special guest. After a scrumptious breakfast of Johnny cakes with syrup, Mama signs, "Get your cloak," and smiles. Happy little wrinkles beside her eyes appeared. It's something I have not seen in a long time. When I'm tucked into my cloak and hat, she takes my hand and leads me outside, along the high road, through the remnants of snow. I wonder where we're going. We see Mrs. Tilton and Carrie in the lane. Carrie embraces me. Mama pauses to speak with Mrs. Tilton. She's being sociable, and it makes my heart glad. As we pass the parsonage, Mr. Lee is chipping ice from his porch. He stops and waves to us, a gesture Mama returns warmly. We follow a wrought iron fence farther on. The grave markers are crooked gray landmarks among the patchy snow. She takes me to George's, which is not yet worn from the passing of time. From her cloak, she removes a Christmas wreath and hands it to me. "You place," she signs. I kneel and carefully lay the wreath over the resting place while I sign the Lord's Prayer. And then I sign, "My dear brother, I will grow up. You will always stay 15. Mama tells me that mockingbirds change their tune, but you cannot change your song. It is fine to follow my own dream if I honor all that was you and the time we spent together. I must move ahead, never forgetting, but embracing the tangible world and loving each other more than ever." Mama offers me her hand and helps me stand. As we walk toward home, we are at peace together for the first time in a long time. Back in the kitchen, I smile at Mama and I get to work. Without being asked, I sweep and dust. I go out to the well and carry in water to boil. I cut up the 3 sisters without complaint. I add some dried herbs to the stock in the kettle. I even clean Mama and Papa's chamber pots. Mama could not look more surprised, as if there were a buffalo running wild through the kitchen. I like working side by side with Mama. The quiet rhythm of these chores feel newly satisfying. In a few months, it will be time for our big spring cleaning. I intend to help Mama with the heavy work, scrubbing, washing, and beating the rugs. Mama taps me on the shoulder. I turn around and she signs, "Go out for your walk. I appreciate your help. But you wouldn't be you if you stayed inside with me all day." I promise Mama that I'll be back in a couple of hours. Back in a couple of hours to help her prepare for dinner. And I don't cross my fingers behind my back. I pick up a fallen birch stick and I walk toward the farm. I trace the tracks from a recently shod horse. I poke at an empty silver blue mussel shell and I draw a cross on the ground where George passed on. It will always be a sacred patch of road, but his spirit has flown to heaven. I spot Papa and Eamon talking in the distant pastures to find Thomas in the barn. He's wrapping his possessions in a calico cloth. Is he returning home at midday? Perhaps there's urgency in Aquina. "Good morrow," I sign. "Good to see you," he signs with a simple gesture. "Sally here," I sign. He turns around and calls to her. To my happy surprise, she walks toward us with her Mama. They must be riding home together. Perhaps there's a Wampanoag ceremony. Papa does not prevent Thomas from observing his traditions. But I'm surprised that the Skiffs let Helen and Sally off early. "We're glad to have you back, Mary," Helen signs warmly. She takes my hands in hers. When we let go, she's placed a necklace in my hand. I recognize the white wampum beads made from whelk shells and carved green serpentine found in rocks and named for its snake-like hue. Both of these are used in gift exchange, and Helen must have chosen the colors and textures especially for me. I touch my heart and sign, "Thank you." Helen signs, "You're welcome. Be safe and well." I turn to Sally and sign, "I heard you helped Bayard. Thank you." George would have been grateful. "Were you able to bring your horses from Aquanana to teach him how to be a good horse?" "No," she signs. "Your papa thought his neighbors might consider the presence of our horses and men as a threat to your town." "Sorry," I sign, looking down. "It's all right," she signs with a smile. "Your father is allowing me to take him to Aquina, since he likes me best of all. I think George would approve. He'd want his horse well cared for. I'm not sorry to see him go to a good home." I sign, "But how did you know the ways to heal Bayard?" "Just good sense," she signs. "Poultices and good sense." "Horse sense," Thomas teases, pulling his hand behind his head to indicate a mane. Sally shakes her head with a smile. "Though I like the horses best, I'm caring for our animals in Aquina too," she signs. "Papa's teaching me what he learned on your farm, and Mama shows me the remedies for their ailments." Papa comes up behind me. We walk to the Richards family, now including Bayard, to the high road. Papa shakes Thomas's hand, bows to Helen, and pats Sally on the head. I sign, "Fare thee well." And as we turn away, I ask, "Thomas, will you return for the big shearing in March?" "Perhaps." Papa weighs the possibility in his hands. He's considering going off to sea on a whaler. "That's dangerous work," I sign, remembering the wrecked whaler that I saw with Ezra Brewer. "It's an opportunity for him to get to greater provide for his family," he explains. "He'd prefer if Helen and Sally didn't have to labor in homes like the Skiffs. It's more than whales he has to worry about. Even though he is a freed man, he runs the risk of being captured and sold into slavery. And there's the question of whether the English captain will pay his Wampanoag crew that he promised." I must look distraught. Papa signs, "Still, the Wampanoag of Gayhead are skilled whalers. I shouldn't be surprised if we see Thomas Richards again." "Good," I sign, slapping the back of one hand into the palm of the other. Papa walks toward the house with me. I think there's a part of him that is afraid to let me out of his sight. "Papa," I ask, "what should I do when Nancy and her parents speak badly about the freed men and the Wampanoag and treat them unkindly? It's not right. It's not fair to treat people as less because they're different. Even Mama has said things that make me blush." "Mary," Papa signs, "you're a good daughter. But you have told lies and spoken with prejudice too. It's best to not judge others. First look inside yourself. Make yourself the best person you can be. People will be influenced by your example. Look at my great-grandpa Lambert," Papa continues. "If it were not for him, we would not be here in the New World. Because of him, we live in a community where being deaf doesn't hinder us from living a full life. People were influenced by his example." "Yes, but our new world is someone's old world, isn't it, Papa?" I sign. "The Wampanoag have lived here for a very long time. What about them? Look at how they're affected by Grandpa Lambert's ways." "That's true. He was not a perfect man. You're old enough to know that he once worked on a slave ship." "Oh, no!" I sign. "I'm afraid so," Papa signs. "We can't hide from our ancestors' misdeeds." I interrupt. "But we can make our own choices now." Papa nods. I stand a bit straighter, smile at Papa, and take his hand. And while we walk, I let his words settle. People will be influenced by your example.